Ever imagine yourself driving down the highway and then suddenly you see this car just drifting across multiple
Oh,
lanes?
yeah.
Like no one's even behind the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, just that image alone, that would give me chills. And that's exactly where we're starting our deep dive today.
Oh, wow.
We're looking into the case of Logan Schindleman, a 19-year-old who went missing back in 2016. And let me tell you, even I was surprised by all the twists and turns in this one.
Oh, I bet. It's a case that really captured the public's attention, and it makes sense.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, the details are strange even for someone like me who's been investigating these things for years.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And we've got so much to go through. Police reports,
Yeah.
witness statements, interviews with Logan's family. We're really going to try to piece together what happened.
Yeah.
Was he running away from something? Did something happen to him?
Right.
Or is there something else going on entirely?
Well, to start with that driverless car you were talking about.
Yeah.
Back on May 20th, 2016, multiple people saw Logan's car. It was a 1996 Chrysler Sebring, and they saw it going down I-5 near Olympia, Washington.
Wow.
It did eventually crash, but there was no driver.
Wait, so the car was completely empty?
Yeah.
I mean, that right there, that's a huge red flag. So many questions pop up.
Absolutely. And when the police looked at the car, they found his wallet, his ID, even his phone, all just left there.
So if someone's trying to disappear on purpose, why would they leave all that behind?
Right. It's almost like whoever was driving wanted that stuff to be found.
Yeah. Almost like a clue or trying to throw people off the trail.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely strange. Now, on top of that, Logan was last seen by his grandmother, Jenny, just 4 days before the car incident. And he told her she had an epiphany.
An epiphany.
But he wouldn't explain what he meant.
I mean, what could that even mean in a situation like this?
Right.
Like, was it some kind of religious thing or a sudden realization about his life?
That's the big question, isn't it? An epiphany can really change someone. It might mean he was about to do something big or he was dealing with some serious internal struggle.
Yeah. And on the topic of change, his phone records show a trip about 100 miles south to Vancouver, Washington,
Okay.
and then back again, all on the same day he disappeared.
Wow.
That's a long way to go, especially if he is already going through some personal crisis.
Exactly. The reason for that trip is still a mystery. We know he didn't meet up with this woman he'd been texting online.
Yeah.
Okay, she lived in Portland, just across the river from Vancouver.
Right.
So what was he doing there?
Was there someone else he could have been meeting? Or was it something about the place itself that mattered?
It's definitely interesting. And there's also these messages he sent right before he vanished.
Oh, yeah.
He texted that woman we were just talking about and said, "I hope to survive this week." And he said similar things to his grandmother, too.
That's scary. I mean, what was he expecting to happen? Was he actually afraid for his safety? Or was this just, typical teenage worries that seem worse now because of what happened?
It's hard to know for sure, but those messages definitely make the case seem more urgent. It sounds like he felt threatened somehow.
Now, this is where things get even weirder. A witness said they saw a man with no pants on
What?
near where Logan's car was found.
Really?
Could that have been Logan? Maybe he was really distressed or disoriented or something?
It's a thought. But the police said the witness's description didn't really match Logan. Of course, that doesn't completely rule it out, but it does add another strange detail to the story.
Yeah, it's like every time you think you're getting closer to figuring this out, something else pops up and makes it more confusing.
Exactly. And there's a lot more of that to come in this case. But maybe if we look at Logan's personal life, we can get some clues about what was going on with him before he disappeared.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Let's see if we can get into his head a bit.
Yeah. So when we start looking into Logan's background, we see that he was dealing with some pretty heavy stuff.
Okay.
He was biracial, and he just recently reconnected with his African-American heritage.
Oh, wow.
After being estranged from that side of the family for years.
That's a big deal. Reconnecting with your roots like that, it can be a really powerful experience.
Absolutely.
But it can also bring up a lot of emotions. Questions about who you are.
Exactly. And we don't know for sure, but it's possible that even though it was a good thing, this reconnection might have brought up some unresolved feelings or a sense of not belonging.
Especially since he grew up in a mostly white community.
Right.
It's like suddenly finding this whole new side to yourself.
Yeah. And on top of that, we can't forget about that racist incident he went through at a party a year before he disappeared.
Yeah, that must have been awful.
It really shook him up. He was so traumatized by it that he cut off all his friends and moved away to college.
Wow. I can't imagine how isolating and painful that must have been.
It would be for anyone. Experiences like that can really mess with your head
For sure.
and make you question everything.
Absolutely. What's crazy is how much this one event seems to have affected him.
It does. It suggests that he was a sensitive person, someone who was deeply affected by prejudice. And it's possible that this experience contributed to him feeling isolated or even paranoid.
Right. And then there's the fact that his relationship with his half-sister's boyfriend was not good.
Yeah,
The boyfriend actually became a suspect in the investigation because of his criminal history.
that's right. Now, just because someone has a record doesn't mean they did it, but it definitely raises some eyebrows.
It does. But didn't the police clear the boyfriend?
They did. They actually gave him a polygraph test and he passed.
Wait, but aren't polygraph tests kind of unreliable?
You're right to be skeptical. They're not perfect. There's definitely a margin of error.
Okay.
And the results can be affected by things like anxiety or if the person is good at controlling their reactions.
So just because someone passes a polygraph doesn't necessarily mean they're innocent.
No, it doesn't, but it also doesn't automatically make them guilty.
Right. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And in this case, the police looked at all the evidence and they ruled the boyfriend out as a suspect.
Gotcha. But still, the fact that there was tension in the house just adds another layer of complexity to this whole situation.
It does. And speaking of complex relationships, Logan wasn't just reconnecting with his heritage, he was also connecting with a whole new part of his family.
Oh, right. He met his great aunt Tina.
Exactly. She's African American, and they met for the first time when he was 18.
Okay.
And they really hit it off at first. Logan was eager to learn more about his family history.
It sounds like he was really searching for a place to belong, especially after that racist incident.
Yeah, but then something strange happened.
What happened?
After all that initial excitement, Logan suddenly went silent.
Like he just ghosted her?
Pretty much. He stopped responding to Tina's messages, and he even turned down an invitation to Thanksgiving.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Was he overwhelmed by all these new connections, or was there some kind of conflict we don't know about?
It's really hard to say. It's a strange detail, especially since he was so enthusiastic at first. It could be a sign that he was struggling to figure out his identity, his past, and his future all at the same time.
Yeah. And it sounds like those struggles were spilling over into his home life, too.
Oh, right.
I remember he told his great Aunt Mary, who he was close to, that he didn't feel safe around his half-sister's boyfriend.
Yeah, that's another piece of the puzzle. It suggests that there might have been more going on than just a personality clash.
Like something more serious.
Right. Was there a specific incident? Did Logan see something that made him afraid of the boyfriend?
These are questions we just don't have answers to. I feel like with every clue we uncover, we just find more mysteries.
It does. So where do we go from here? What can we make of all this seemingly random information?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, even though we don't have any concrete answers, I think we can start to put together a picture of Logan's state of mind,
Okay.
his epiphany, those troubling messages, his withdrawal from his family. They all point to a young man who was struggling with something.
Yeah, that's definitely coming through loud and clear.
It is.
This whole case, it's like you're lost in a maze.
Yeah,
It's dark. You're trying to find your way out, and you just keep hitting dead ends.
I know what you mean.
Or even worse, you end up back where you started.
It's true. This case is full of twists and turns and things that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's no wonder it's still unsolved.
But maybe someone out there listening right now,
Right.
they have a piece of the puzzle that they don't even realize they have.
Yeah.
Maybe a detail that seemed small at the time, or a memory that they just didn't think was important.
You're right. Sometimes the tiniest thing can be the key to cracking the whole case open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you knew Logan,
Mm-hmm.
or were even just around him back then,
Mm-hmm.
we really need you to think back to the time before he disappeared.
Yeah. Anything you remember.
Anything that seemed off or strange or even just vaguely connected to Logan,
Anything at all.
please contact the authorities.
Don't hesitate.
Think about those things we talked about, his epiphany, his trip to Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
those messages he sent.
Yeah.
Did he say anything that seemed weird? Did you see him with anyone who looks suspicious? Maybe you were driving on I-5 that day and saw something you didn't think much of at the time.
Or maybe you overheard a conversation that seems important now.
Right. It's amazing how memories can come back to you because of something totally random,
It's true.
like a song or a smell or even just a photo.
Yeah.
And that memory could be crucial to this investigation.
Absolutely.
Even if you think it's nothing, please tell someone. Let the investigators decide what's important.
Right.
You might have the missing piece they've been looking for all these years.
It's possible. Logan's story, it really shows how even in today's world where everyone's connected all the time, people can just vanish.
I know it's a scary thought,
It is.
but this is also a call to action. We can't forget about Logan.
No, we can't.
We have to keep looking, keep asking questions, and never give up hope.
Absolutely. So if you have any information about Logan Schindleman, no matter how small it seems, please contact the Thurston County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
The number's on our website. You'll also find links to resources for missing persons cases if you want to learn more.
Someone out there knows something, and that information could be what brings Logan home
Yeah,
and gives his family some peace after all this time.
it really could. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the disappearance of Logan Schindleman. We hope that by talking about this case, we can help bring some answers and maybe even some closure.
And remember, even when things are uncertain and we have more questions than answers, there's always hope.
That's right.
Never stop searching for the truth.